Up. I'm sitting in my den. Eventually, you'll catch me.
Oh, you got two Bennetts on one picture.
Oh, how you doing there?
Hello.
You're on spring break.
I'm on spring break, yeah.
When do you go back?
Monday.
Very nice. Great.
Yeah. Or Sunday.
Great. And Sammy, how are you doing? Sammy had it. How you feeling? Good?
Yeah, I just have my wife yelling in the background, so I don't want to keep myself on mute, but I just made it home from the hospital and finally showered and in bed and relaxing and looking forward to class.
Great. Let me ask you, is it uncomfortable? What's it like? Is it hard?
To have your gallbladder removed, it's a
Yeah.
lot better once they get it out.
Oh, the pain before is impossible.
It was ridiculous. I never thought the word writhing. I never used the word writhing to describe pain that I was experiencing, and this was it.
That was
Wow, refreshing. Feel better. Feel better.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow.
great. Okay.
They took good care of me.
Are we good to go?
Um,
I
Yeah.
think we're good to go.
I think so.
All right. Let me see. I want to see. I'm not yet ready to share, but we haven't done anything structurally on the 75th Mizmor yet, have we? Or you guys remind me?
we read through it
No, I'm asking if we did any structural work.
a little.
Mars, you remember?
On which one?
On
We did.
75.
Structural work on 75. I don't think so. We just read
Okay.
it through last week.
Right, okay. That's what I thought. We haven't touched any of the structural aspects of it. It happens to be that 75 is one of the most critical Mizmorim to understand its structure, and by understanding its structure, you get an insight into what we've been talking about for these last 3-4 weeks. And I usually, especially in a Zoom class, try to shy away from doing any kind of structural work like acrostics or the 137th Mizmor or 49 or whatever it may be, because I like to do that in person, and it can be difficult to grasp. That said, the 75th Mizmor's structure is critical to understanding what's happening there. Last week, we spoke about the 25th Mizmor and Hodi'ini Tirachicha, and how 25, which is already in volume 1 and is treated extensively. We talked about it as it relates. It's the first Mizmor that has the word bidi twice in it, and we ended off with those words, Sod Adonai L'Re'av U'Brito L'Hodi'an. And we said, why is it called the sword? And why is it known to L'Re'av? And we talked about that. Mars, if I asked you to say in very few words, what was the upshot of what you understood there? Could you? If I asked you?
What was the upshot of
the secret of God, right, is to those who fear him, and his covenant, right, to be made known to them.
Yeah. So what would the upshot be? If those are the people that understand that get the benefit of that relationship, and and have an understanding of it.
And that relationship, we said, all of that, the 25th Mizmor is not always, every part of it is referring to Exodus 32, 3, 4, right? From the Egil all the way till Ani Hashem. That's what we said. And the Hodieni Derichecha, or right, or et Kebodecha, the culmination of that is that he puts him in the rock and he passes by, he puts his hand up, you can't see him, you can't see my face, and live, Loyed Ani Hadam V'Hai, but you can only see me, Ahurai, you can only see me, my back. And my back, you all remember what we said that means? Anybody make any comment? Retrospectively. You can only understand me, you can only see me, right? You can see me retrospectively, you can't see me. And we said that that this is not the only place that this idea comes up. And we said that the 75th Mizmor, this is a review of the last 3-4 weeks, tracks Exodus all the way from the very beginning when he's at the burning bush, and it tracks it all the way up to the point where things get worse, and he tells Hashem from the time Nazbati El Pero, everything got worse, and then he tells him Ani Hashem. And that Ani Hashem, there's incontrovertible proof that Ani Hashem in chapter 6 is 26 words and 26 words and 52 words, and it's all a play on the Yud Ke Vav Ke, the value of the word of Yud Ke Vav Ke of 10.5.6.5. That said, we've talked about how the third book in Tehillim, 73, starts it, and Asaph, and about priesthood and corruption, and 74 in the destruction of the temple. And then after the destruction of the temple, you turn to God's answer, which is, Ki ekach moed ani mesharim ishpot. When I decide the time, that's when I will judge equitably. The answer is not what the Navi, of course, wants to hear. It's a very difficult answer. If I put up the Hebrew, let me share my screen for a second. Yeah, I'll just put up any Hebrew. And let's see, yeah. Let's put this on the screen. I got to make this small. Okay. And context, and let's turn that off, and let's go to chapter, second book, and no, I wanted to show you sorry, 27, 75. Okay. So you guys could all see the screen, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, I'll make it a drop bigger if you'd like. Is that better? Your name is close. Your niflaot, we're told. It's back, referring back to the 74th Mizmor. God speaks and says, when I decide, in other words, the time, I will equitably judge. Hashem goes on to speak and says, the land and all of its inhabitants are Nimogim. You know, Nimogim, you should all know that word. Who knows what the word Nimogim means? Namogu kol yoshbeh, from the Shirah.
Good.
What does it mean? Anybody? You don't know. You say it in the Shira a million times. They melt away. Nemogim. They are Nemogim. It is the inhabitants, right? The land is melting away and all of its inhabitants. And then Hashem says to that, Ani, it's a question. Nemogim is you're coming to me and telling me that everything is melting away. Ani tikanti amudeha. I set up its foundations perfectly. Selah, the end of part 1 of the Mizmor. We have discussed what goes on in the rest of the Mizmor in previous classes. So where he reminisces that I told the Holalim, the priests, in other words, they're called Holalim, the boasters, instead of the person people who say Hallel, al taholu, and I told the wicked, don't lift up your horns, and you're not going to get help from anywhere, east, west, or south, meaning they're coming from the north. God is a judge. He brings down, and now there's reversal of fortune. And then the 17-word verse, which is extremely unusual in Tehillim, Tikos b'yad Adonai, which is quoting Yirmiyah, the cup is in the hand of God. They're going to drink the cup of God's wrath, which is the counterpart is found in chapter 25 of the Yirmiyah, the same exact idea. So we have talked about how that answer is critical to understanding how things work, but we've also said that the lead up to this point is the same lead up as the lead up in chapter in the chapters that lead up to the 6th chapter in Shemot, where God says, Ani Hashem. Now, here's why it's extremely critical to understand this Mizmor's structure. Critical, not important, critical. Nobody has more to say about this Mizmor than what I just now told you about when I decide the time. The answer, first of all, a lot of people won't say it's the answer to 74. 74, we said, was the most pressured Mizmor that there is. Probably, if not the most, certainly at the top 2 or 3, pressuring God to act. Why are you being passive, right? You remember, take your hand out of your bosom, which is like Moshe Rabbeinu, we don't see or taught, and act, and God answers this answer, which is you get deflated when you hear it, because the answer is that it's not going to happen, and relief isn't going to become the way you want it. Now,
are you equating Shemot 26 to this part of Tehillim? Because this sounds
not
much worse.
Shemot 26, Shemot 6.
6, okay, 6.
Leading up to
Right.
6.
Leading up to 6. Are you
They're in
equating that
slavery. He said he told them to
like
free them,
this?
and the suffering only got worse.
Got worse. The work got worse, but it doesn't seem to the extreme level that this is it. This is they're being tortured, and I don't know. It just doesn't seem equal.
Well, over here it's the destruction
Sounds much
of the
worse.
temple. Over there it's the people in slavery. They're enslaved.
Right.
Slavery is intense. Intense. Now, as to whether the movement, when I say the movement, I didn't say it duplicates the punishment, right? Or the suffering. I didn't say it's duplicated. I said, but it tracks this, because prior to this was Shirat Hayam in 74, which underlined was the very foundation of the 74th Mizmor, and that's leading up to that's the 10 plagues we're going to get into now, and Shirat Hayam, and the question of God's of his being first revealed to him. He says, you'll know that you succeeded when I got to the mountain, when you doing it to Elohim on Hadazeh, and he tells him his name, and he says, Ehiyah, and then in Ani Hashem, he tells him, Ani Yud Kevavke. And you'll see that things are going to change because Moshe is at his wit's end because it only got worse, he says. That said, I want to now turn to what goes on structurally tonight we probably won't get beyond this structural part, but I want to turn to it so that when I tell you that it's critical to understanding the Mizmor, you'll know what I mean. Say to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. 75, let me close this, exhibits a number of remarkable structural features, the recognition of which is essentially to fully appreciate its core message. In other words, when you understand the recognition of which is it's essential to fully appreciate its core message. I don't always write like that. I don't always say without knowing the structure, you won't. Over here, it's essential. Over here, the people who I'm saying that the people who have read the 75th Mizmor for the last few thousand years have not gotten the you cannot fully appreciate the essential core message of this Mizmor, right? As a whole unit, it has a total of 87 words. Again, remember, we're going to get into, if you don't understand tonight, ask questions. As a whole unit, it has a total of 87 words, including a 6-word superscription and one occurrence of the word Selah, which may be used within a psalm to divide between its sections. Without these quote-unquote extras, which, as we have observed, may or may not be counted when considering numerical structure, the psalm has exactly 80 words. In other words, there are 6 words of superscription and 1 word of the Selah. There are actually 80 words of the Mizmor itself, which symbolizes the covenant. Alternatively, it is possible to understand the division of the words such as that there are 80 words followed by the 7-word divine promise in the final verse. This and many other features join it to the ensuing Psalm 76. Remember, we're at the middle of Tehillim. We're at the core, what we've been talking about for 25 years now, 30 years, right? More. You were teenagers. What we've been talking about is center points. Center points are critical in every single Mizmor, in many narratives, and in many areas of Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketuvim. Many. And we've shown dozens and dozens of examples, if not more. So we are now at a very critical juncture in Tehillim because we are now at the center in Mizmorim. 150 make 75 and 76 the center point. This center point, up until now, I have never explained to you. Oh, we're learning it for the first, but I should be challenged. Let me say it this way. It's worth taking a second to say this. I want to see everybody when I say this. If I've been saying up until now that center points are critical, you guys should turn around to me and say, if it's critical, the very center of Tehillim should be the most critical of all. And the very center, meaning the 2 center Mizmorim. Why do they land where what do they say that makes it so special that you now look at it like the essential message of all of Tehillim. So you guys should ask me or challenge me to say, if you are right. So, Paulie, what are you doing with your fingers on the screen? I'm just curious. I keep seeing. Yeah, you're cut off. Your sound's cut off. Yeah, it's okay. So, it's okay. So you should, Eli, you know, I see Lee. I see you.
Yes.
Let me ask you. Do you understand what I mean? That I should be asked the question, if I've been right about all these times that center points are critical, it's the focal point, it's what it's all about, then Tehillim's center point in Mizmorim should be what all of Tehillim is about. And then, if it's what all of Tehillim is about, since I have told you on numerous occasions that Tehillim is a commentary, in effect, on the Torah, correct? You've all heard this? I need some,
5 books.
Yes.
5 books.
right?
Not a 5 book.
Okay. Lee, I hope you don't mind. I'll use you. I could hear you clearly.
Go for it.
You could say yes for everybody. Am I correct that I've said on
Yes.
numerous occasions
Well, yes,
that,
yes,
that
but you could,
Tehillim is a commentary on the Torah and
yes,
prophetic commentary?
On the 5 books, yes.
Yeah, on the Torah. I said on the Torah. Yeah. So if that's the case, not only is it the most important and focal point of Tehillim, by being the focal point of Tehillim, it's therefore stating one of the most foundational and fundamental things about all of the Torah. Do you understand that, Lee?
I understand, but you can count
should-
it then and say, hey, it's 150, it's 5 books. Each book corresponds to Torah. You can take the center point in words. You can take the center point in verses. Maybe it's not like 150 center point. Maybe it's just you go by each book, the center point of each book. Why?
You do. I've always told you the center of each book is critical. I'm only saying, I give you that point. There's center words, center verses. The center verses occur at the center verses in Tehillim 1300 forward, backward. That's the 78th Mizmor, the historical recap. And I've told you what the center words are and the center letters. And that is true. But the center to Mizmorim should be in line with those center points. Do you get that?
Could be.
But if that's
Yeah.
the case,
There
Ronnie,
should be a common denominator between them. And at
Now you-
minimum, the fact that it's 2 whole Mizmorim, it is the actual center in Mizmorim. You can look at the content and there should be something the main focal point of all of the 150 Mizmorim, because
Okay,
that's what I say about every center point everywhere else.
okay.
but if you're going to parallel it to the 5 books of the Torah, the 5 books of Torah should also have that significance, and I don't think they do.
Look, you could challenge me all you want. I said you should ask me that question.
But I mean, why isn't this? That's the question.
I'm saying it is. I'm
Yes.
saying I'm going to tell you about why you should ask me the question. I opened this up by saying you should ask me the question. Well, if that's true, it should be A, B, C, D, right? Now you're starting to ask that question, Soli. So I'm answering you. At the end of this, you will understand why the 75th and 76th Mizmorim are at the core of Tehillim, and therefore making a major fundamental statement about all of the Torah and Nevi'im Rishon and Nevi'im and Ketubim. Fundamental. Now that's a mouthful, isn't it?
yes.
That's what?
That's a mouthful, what I just said. I have a lot of nerve to claim.
It's
I have
expected.
a lot of nerve to claim that I'm going to tell you something that is going to be so impactful that it will be the most important statement that's said throughout. and that it by no means doesn't live up to the thing of center points. Not only does it live up to it, but it clarifies it better than ever and more than ever. And that understanding has great impact on many areas of Tanakh. Many, not a few, many. So I said you should ask me the question. I asked myself the question. So all I want to hear is, do you hear the question, everybody?
Yeah, of course.
Right. Lee, do you hear that it's a very big challenge for me to dare to say I'm going to answer that question?
It is.
Okay, great. So now let's get back to where I was. 1 second. Okay, right. And let's continue. This and many other features join it to the ensuing psalm, which, as we shall discuss, can also be considered an 80-word psalm. It is no coincidence that each of the book's 2 central psalms can be understood to embody this number, which signifies the covenant. In addition to covenantal numbers, numbers signifying God's name through gematria, their word value, and divine names themselves feature prominently with the substructures within the substructures of the psalm. Moreover, we shall see that structural cues throughout the psalm hint to the divine statement, I am Yud Keh Vav Keh, Ani Yud Keh Vav Keh, and Anochi Yud Keh Vav Keh, a pronouncement that occurs often in the Torah. The Ani Hashem's, the former exactly 80 times, which I've told you guys before, 79 in the 4 books, and 1 time at the end, after Devarim proper, at the very end, particularly in connection with the transmission of the covenant and the guarantee of God's caring involvement in Israel's future. We shall also find that the frequent repetition and strategic placement of the word key provides an important window into the Psalm's interpretation. An analysis in this section reveals the intricate numerical substructures of the Psalm. This is the end of the commentary, by the way, you guys. This is, let's say this commentary has 75 pages. We've already covered 50 or whatever. The majority of this, we are now coming to this at, we would have been learning this, reading it together. We're at the latter part of this commentary.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay, you said it's 80 words minus the superscripture, and then
And the Selah.
and the last pasuk,
And the Selah.
No,
and the last pasuk, or not the last
No.
pasuk?
No.
Oh,
That
I
would
thought you
make
said the
it
last
80
pasuk.
words if
I
you
said
counted
you
it.
could
Okay,
also
okay.
look at it as an 80 words plus the concluding 7 words. That's what I said.
Yes, followed by the 7-word divine promise. But that the 7 words is part of the 80 words, or is it 80? I'm not
You
clear.
have
what that means.
87 total words.
Okay.
Just
7
go
is the
look at it as
superscription.
80
Superscription
and
and
then the
1
last
Selah.
7.
That's 7 from 87 leaves you with 80. I made a second statement that says it's also possible to look at this as 80 words, including everything, 80 words, and then you have the 7-word concluding statement. That's all.
That would make it 87.
There are
No, it's
87
80 and
words, and
7.
there's more.
Okay. Oh,
80.
of course, it's 87. I got you.
80.
Okay.
80 words with the 6, with the 1, with everything. You get to that
Is it-
point, you read 80
right.
words, and then you have 7 words then. But the main point is take away the superscription of 6, take away the Selah, you're left with 80 words of the
Okay.
word itself, right?
Okay.
Don't get hung up in that. It's not a problem.
No, okay.
Okay. Particularly in connection with the analysis in this section reveals intricate numerical substructures of the psalm, taking into account the atomic level of the composition. It's important that you understand when I say atomic, I mean the atomic level, all the way down to the cells, its words, and even its letters. A method employed fruitfully to varying degrees in the previous chapters on the Asaph Psalms and throughout this study. It is important, I'm skipping all footnotes. It is important to note that while this research requires attentive patience and can be difficult to follow at times, it is all based on the simple and straightforward method of counting the words and letters of the text without manipulation. This is all there in front of the reader in the text of the psalm itself. To assist the reader, numerous charts which illustrate the key observations graphically have been included. Now, the reason I did this is because it's intricate, complicated, not easy, and if you say it too fast, it's like you get overwhelmed. So you got to go through it slowly, and I take the reader through it the way I discovered it. The word key. Though it has generally evaded comment from the scholars, the psalmist's use of the word key, because or for, represents a key to the interpretation of the psalm. As the below chart illustrates, the repetition and strategic placement of the word gives it special prominence. Can everybody see the screen well?
Yeah,
Do you need it a little bigger?
no, just take off the top three sentences.
Okay.
Hmm.
Here we are. You see there's a key in the first part here, and I separated the Mizmor's two sections into two parts. There's 28 words in section 1. I'm circling it there for you. The 60th word backward, it's the word Selah that breaks up section 1, and section 2 starts with Amarti Laholalim Al Taholu and continues until the 87th word. That means there are 59 words in section 2 and 28 words in section 1. Is everybody with me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now, listen, the word key is not only the central word of the composition, it's the 44th of 87 in verse 7. Here's verse 7. You see it? See ki lo min mosar ma'arav lo midbarim, because not from east to west or from the south will help come. Why? In the next verse, ki, because Elohim shofet, God is judge. Ze yashpil, this one he takes down. V'ze yarim, and this one he lifts up. Ki, because kos biyad Adonai, the cup is in the hand of God. V'yain hemad malei mesech, this is that 17-word verse. The dregs are foaming. V'yager mizeh, and he pours it out. Ach shemareha, and the dregs yimtzu will be squeezed out and found and drunk by all the wicked of the land. Those are the three keys that start verses 7, 8, and 9. In section 1, there's also a key, and that key is the first word spoken. Why isn't my mouse working? I don't know. I'm frozen. Please don't freeze on me now. Sorry, guys. Give me a second. Let me make it a little smaller. Maybe that'll help. Come on, don't blow. No, don't. Yeah. Okay, let's give it a second and see if it rebounds. No. Your internet connection is unstable. No, it isn't. Can anybody not hear me?
Keep
We can
skipping.
hear you.
I'm getting you skipping.
Yeah.
You are. Shucks. All right. But I'm gonna have to do this. I hate to do this. I had to close the Mizmor down. Give me a minute. You guys can all see the screen, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me do my best to save the day here. Even though I had to close the, close-
Barbara,
1 second.
would you call Sakal, tell him I can't,
One
go take, yeah.
Just 1 minute, guys. Okay, let's see if this helps. I opened up a PDF. And if the PDF works, we'll be in good shape. You know what happens? I'm working on my little laptop. And it's nowhere near as potent as my normal laptop.
So you just cut out.
You just keep cutting out, running in and out.
Oh my God. This is horrible.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try. Joey, we hear you, Joe.
You didn't answer?
Okay, structure.
Joey, what's for dinner?
I ate already.
Oh, wow, we see your eyes, Joey.
It's not it. There we go.
Reminds
Very
old, good old COVID days.
Let's see.
Okay,
That's better.
Okay. Okay, let's try and make this work. Are we back? Are you guys seeing the screen now?
Yes.
Okay. So in section 1, you'll note that there's another key. That key, ki ekach, is the first word that God speaks in response to the 74th Mizmor's intense request. Ki ekach moed, when I take the time, anim isharim mispor, I'll judge equitably. Nemurgim es chol yoshpeh, the land and all of its inhabitants are melting away, and ochiti kanti amudeh, I set it up perfectly. By the way, how many words does God say? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. He says 13 words, correct? Just to say that in this was what it's good to know. Now this key, there are 87 words. What's the middle of 87, Soli?
44.
44. What's the 44th word in this was what?
Key.
Key.
Key. Which key? The first one in section 2, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
It's only 4 of them. So.
What is this key over here, Soli? You can tell everybody. What do you notice about this key? I wrote it for you.
It's a center of section 1. Very good. It's actually also, it's the center pasuk, starting the center pasuk of that section. And the other 3 are the center 3 of the second section.
That's very
It's not
good.
the center pasuk.
But
There's
it's not
4
the center
pesukim.
pasuk. It's the
There's 4
center
pesukim.
Well,
without
no,
superscription.
but that's
you mean.
superscripture, right?
That's correct.
Right.
That's correct.
And the
Now,
other 3 are the center pasukim of the second section.
yeah. Now I want to point out something interesting to you. You see this key, which is at the center, but it's the 15th of
28.
27, right?
Right. So that's
But
not
if you
center.
take 28 words, then it would be the middle along with the word nifloatecha, correct? 14 and 14 is 28, yeah?
Yes.
What do you notice about the word right before key? Nifloatecha, look closely at it.
Yeah. What am I supposed to notice?
Does anybody catch it? This is the word key, which is at the
Kaf.
center of
Kaf
section.
Yud, the key.
What?
Kaf Yud.
That's right. Nifloatecha ends off with a key.
Oh,
Chaf Yod. So there's a Chaf Yod backwards and a Chaf Yod forward at the exact center. Is that what you'd call a nice coincidence?
Yes, a coincidence.
A
yes.
coincidence. Now,
What's the
now
letter
you
count?
come to this key, right? Which is the center of everything, This is the center of section 1. This is the center of all of the words. What is this key?
The center of the three keys.
Center from first key to the end of the
Right.
Mizmor. Count from this key
Oh,
all
wow.
the way to the end of Mizmor. This one is the center of it. What about this key? Read it, Soli.
Center of section 2. 30
How many
words out
words
of
in
59.
section 2?
59,
What's the middle of 59?
30.
What word number is this?
That's
30.
number 30.
So you look at this, and when I analyzed this 10 years ago, I knew for sure that I wasn't in a coincidence world. To have every single key, the one of the keys is at the middle of all of them. The other one of the keys is at the middle of the first section. Take the first key, go to the end, then the next one is the key. Take the second section, and its middle is the key. The first section's middle is the key. The second section's middle is the key. And the word key is the middle of the entire thing. The only thing you have left is go key to the end, and it's also a middle. Now, since that's the person who's on, I only have one person showing on the screen right now because I have a small screen. It's Lee. So I'm just picking at randomly. Lee,
Thank
you understand why it's very difficult to call this coincidence?
you. Yeah, there's arrows pointing at the keys.
No question about it. I mean, I used to make a joke about this with Alex. The key to this Mizmor are the keys, right? But now, that said, I'd like to point out another interesting side point to you. This Mizmor has it says the center of section 2 is the word key, right? Because the cup is in God's hands, right? You with me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Anybody? I just need anybody to say yes.
Yes,
Gotcha.
yes, yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
I'm in the
Okay.
car, sorry.
That's okay. So what word number is this? Is that Soli? You said it.
30, 30,
What is key equal to?
30,
30.
30. Yeah.
It just happens to be that the word key is equal to 30, right? So this key, right, which is the center of the entire Mizmor, this key Lo Mimosa, not from west and east or from the south, will help come, right? And you can't say north, of course, because north is where the enemy's coming from, right? He's telling him you're not going to get help from any, right? Read what it says, Soli.
Which word am I reading? Center of
This
entire
key,
Mizmor
seventh, yeah.
is 44th of 87 words, and it's the 30th word from the first key.
From here to here is the 30th word.
So 30 is a major feature, yeah.
And this one is the 30th of the entire section,
Right.
right? So the word, this one's the 30th from the end. This one is the 30th from here. And the word is equal to 30. It's a little bit more of the coincidences happening with this word key. Got me?
Yes.
Okay. That said, the word key is not only, I'm going to read it fast, not only the essential word of the composition 44 of 87, but also the opening of God's statement in verse 3. In addition, it is difficult to miss that the same word is positioned at the beginning of 3 consecutive verses. That's another interesting thing. Verses 7, 8, and 9 begin with key. Key this, key this, key this. Just like this key is the beginning of verse 3, which is the center verse without superscripture, which is the first word that God says. Right? So it's
Yes.
increasing in its
Intensity.
its importance. Good?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. Looking closer, one finds still more intricate structural patterns meant to place emphasis on this word. For example, including the superscription, the first key, which begins God's statement in verse 3, is one of the first 2 central words, 15th of 28 of the Psalm. I said this to you. I'm going to skip
Yeah.
it. In addition, from the first key, in verse 3, 17 words, the exact center, which is, I said it to you. I'm going to skip down. The psalmist's decision to emphasize the ubiquitous connector word key in such a way begs for explanation. It appears that the purpose is not only to highlight both God's speech, beginning with this word in verses 3 to 4, and the three consecutive key statements, but also to put them in dialogue with one another, bringing together the main threads of the psalm concerning Israel's suffering and God's justice. As noted, God's declaration in verse 3, Ki Yakar Moed, when I take or decide the time, responds directly to Psalm 74's urgent supplication of God to intervene in the unbearable suffering of his people stemming from the destruction and exile. As explained above, God's response represents a promise that justice will be done for Israel. However, that justice may not arrive in the form of salvation in the near future, let alone immediately enough to relieve the current crisis. The continuation of God's words in verse 4 state that though the earth and all its inhabitants melt away, it was I who fixed its foundation. As observed, the implication of the word tikanti here is that God cannot be blamed for suffering now being experienced, as divine judgment is righteous. The current chaos resulted from the people's violation of the covenant. Thus, the statement, Ki Yakar Moed, is not simply an expression of God's power to bring about justice at the time of his choosing, apart from human expectations. It is part of a larger statement in which God corrects wrongful perception by declaring that he is in fact a just and fair judge. We propose that this divine message does not simply respond to the urgent supplication in Psalm 74. It is also linked by repetition to the word Ki, to the three consecutive statements in 7 to 9, as we have seen. The first of these two, etc., 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 the foaming cup, and etc., etc. I'm skipping. Now, finally, it is important to note that as in the previous Asaph Psalms in 75, we encounter the use of a sophisticated technique, according to which an individual key word and even letters and sounds that comprise it are carefully arranged to emphasize its significance in the psalm. The below chart illustrates the appearance of both phonetic sound key and the letters comprising it in the composition. Here's key, correct? I need anybody to answer me. Saul, are you there?
Yeah, I see it. Uh-huh.
You
Yeah,
see, Niflotecha, that's the one
Techa.
that Joey caught, key,
Right.
followed by a key. God's speech, V'chol Yoshveh Anochi,
Chi.
there's
Tikanti.
Anochi, I. God refers to
Ki.
himself. There's Anochi, I. Tikanti. There's those letters in there, Amudeha. Then you have the key and the key and the key. And the last key is Ki Kos Biyad Adonai. What does that turn into solely when you say Ki Kos? You have, there it is, I'm pointing you.
No,
Key
two times.
and key forwards and backwards, because it's
Oh,
Ki Kos, right?
Okay, cute. Okay.
What's the last word of the Mizmor? Chol
Tzaddik.
Kanir Shaim Agadeya, all the horns of the wicked I will break. Kiromamna will, and what will be lifted up will be the karnot, the
Karnot.
horns of the Sadiq. The
Tzaddik,
last word,
Kuf Yud.
the Sadiq's horns will be lifted up. What do you notice about that?
The Kuf Yud is the key. And
The last two letters of this
Backwards.
word are key.
right, coming back, right.
So the last two letters are key. The middle of section 1 has that key, this key, Anochi, and so on and so forth. Are we good?
Yeah.
good.
Okay. The highlighted boxes encapsulate the word, et cetera, and I told it to you, spelled regularly in reverse, et cetera, et cetera. Next. Divine names and the I am Yud Kevav Kethim. This is important. It's 8:35. We still have another 25 minutes to the class. Are you guys all still paying attention? Because I don't want to lose you. I wanted to do this all in person, but we're doing it. Are we good, everybody?
Excellent.
Good.
Psalm
gonna discuss the
75.
Yeah.
Are you can
You want
discuss
to
the
discuss
significance of the
something?
word
You
key?
can. Sure, you can. Yeah, go ahead.
You can discuss the significance of the word key at a future date. And then you're just
Everything
doing
is going to
structure
be
now?
discussed. Everything will be
Alright.
discussed.
We're just doing structure now. Okay.
Psalm 75 All of this is to explain content.
Structure.
All of
right.
this is to say that without this, you could never understand the game changer that 75 is along with 76. That's what we're claiming. Psalm
And Ronnie, what does the prophet make it so hard to get to? If it's so
We're going to
important?
talk
What-
about that too. We're going to talk about why this one is on an atomic level and hasn't been seen. This is one of the few times, I'm so glad you asked the question, Lee. I don't know if we're going to get to it tonight, but I'm going to answer the question of why it is so deeply embedded, yet it never says Ani Hashem once. Right? Explicitly, I mean explicitly. That's what you're asking, correctly?
I know, but yeah, why
No.
is this message take so much digging out? Like what? Why
Yeah. I
is the
actually
prophet is
have-
putting it out there for me to understand just reading it?
Exactly. I actually have an answer for you. But
Every
I
week.
can't give it this second. I can't give it this second. We have to just hold on. I hope solely hold on to your question and Lee, hold on to your question to remember it because we don't know if we're getting to it tonight. Do not forget your question. Remember it. Each one of you remember your own question. Psalm 75 exhibits a careful, multi-layered structural system that emphasizes divine names, causing them to emanate from the psalm in an astounding variety of ways. Astounding. I wrote the word astounding on purpose. It's not hyperbole. I'm not talking I never talk in the book with hyperbole. First, the name Elohim appears to have been intentionally placed at intervals meant to evoke the tetragrammaton, whose 4 letters give the numerical value of 26. The first occurrence of Elohim in verse 2 is the 78th, 3 times 26, 78th word from the text's end, excluding Selah. The second in verse 8 is the 52nd, 2 times 26 word from the beginning, including superscription and Selah. The third and final occurrence is in the phrase Elohei Yaakov, where the name of God is the 78th, 3 times 26 word, again excluding Selah. Interestingly, in this phrase, the attached name Yaakov is the 80th total word of the text, and the numerical total of this name is also a multiple of 7, 182. The lone appearance of the tetragrammaton, in other words, is one occurrence of Yud Keh Vav Keh in this Mizmor, in verse 9, is the 61st word in the psalm. This is exactly 52, 2 times 26 words from the first Elohim, and exactly 26 words remain in the psalm after it. The chart below shows this. Take a look at the chart. This is to make it easy. You see one, and this one, and this one. You see over here where it says Yud Keh Vav Keh is equal to 52. Can everybody see that?
Mhm.
Yes,
You see, it's the 61st word, right?
yes.
And it's followed by how many words, Soli?
28 words.
26. That's a
26
26.
words, 26.
That's a 26, that number over there. That's
60.
under Lilo here. You see
Oh,
it?
right, all right, okay, gotcha, yes. Uh-huh.
Right. You want to see an interesting thing about Yud Keh Vav Keh? You see the word V'yayin? Soli.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What are the 3 letters after the word Yud Keh Vav Keh?
Vav Yud Yud.
Which equals?
26.
What are the second letters in each of Ki Kos Biad? Soli,
The key course is Yud Vav Yud,
which is
26.
26. Now listen to me carefully. I'm gonna cut through this Mizmor and tell you something amazing about this Mizmor. And listen carefully. This Mizmor opens up with a word that says, Hodinu lecha Elohim, Hodinu lecha. We give thanks to you, God. We give thanks to you.
Okay.
And your name, Vekarov Shemecha. Your name is close.
Close.
What do you mean your name is close?
To another
Your niflaot were told in the previous Mizmor, right? Let's remember, 74 is all about Shiratam, all about the plagues, all about the flood, all about creation.
The seasons,
right?
right.
It's
Right.
at its core, right? All the autot. You remember we learned that. Now, listen, I'm going to read to you to make this easy. The precise use of the number 26 in connection with the placement of divine names in 75 certainly serves to emphasize the tetragrammaton. This striking phenomenon is in line with the widespread practice of prophetic literature of utilizing the precise structuring of literary units in order to emphasize God's name. For example, in volume 1 of this study, we illustrated at length how this occurs in Exodus 6:2-9, which you all know from the Parashah of Ani Hashem. I'm skipping it. And you all know how Ani Hashem works. The first and clearest indication of the intent to emphasize the phrase I am Yud-Keh Vav-Keh lies in the location of the only occurrence of the tetragrammaton in verse 9, which is the 61st word of the psalm. You see that?
Yes.
Yeah, we saw that. Mhm.
Okay,
We
let
saw
me
it
see
before.
if the next chart shows it. Here's the 61st word in the psalm. You see it? You see Yud-Keh Vav-Keh here?
Okay.
I think I'll show it to you in the other one. It's easier for you. Here is the 61st word in the psalm. Yud-Keh Vav-Keh. Because the cup is in the hand of Yud-Keh Vav-Keh. See, 61 over here. See the bottom? It's equal to 52. It's 61. What is the numerical value of the word ani, Lee?
Ani, 51.
Try again.
Oh, the Yud, 61.
61. On the 61st word, which is ani, right? He says ani, Yud-Keh Vav-Keh. You see that? It's
We
the
say Ani.
I think it's the
61st word.
61st word, right?
It's the 61st word in the text. And the 61st word, if you say the numerical value of 61, it sounds like a joke right now, right? Take 61, turn it into ani, right, Lee?
Right,
Hashem.
well,
And you end up with ani Hashem, correct?
yes.
Good. Now listen carefully. How many words are there in this Mizmor?
87.
87.
What is 61 and 26 equal?
87.
87.
Ani Hashem, Ani, 61, Yud-Keh Vav-Keh, 26. Here's the 61st word, followed by another 26th word with Veyayin, correct?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Ani Hashem, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Look at this chart. Do you see what I did in this Mizmor? Can you see what I'm highlighting in this Mizmor?
Yeah.
Can
The
you
A's
move
and
the
Yuds.
screen to the right a little, Ronnie? We're missing just the first column.
Yeah, sure.
Yud, Hayes, and Bubs.
Yes.
Do you see it?
Yeah.
The red represents the letters of God's name, correct?
All over the
Yes.
place. Yes.
Right? What does the green represent?
Words without it.
Words that do not have Yud-Keh Vav-Keh in them, correct?
That was a joke.
Okay.
So Lee, for example, Mizmor has
No,
one
no,
of the
there's not-
letters of
there's-
God's name in it. You see
Those
that?
three
One,
letters are not showing up. Right. Okay.
what is
Right.
that?
Those three letters do not show up at all in
Yeah.
those words.
Right.
Okay.
Anything that's green means it doesn't have God's name in it.
At all.
One of the letters
None
of
of the
God's
letters.
name.
Right.
So let's start. 1, 2, 3, 3 words without God's name, one of the letters of God's name, right?
Yeah.
Mizmor is the first. You with me?
Uh-huh.
Everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the fourth without.
Right.
This
Okay.
is the second with,
With.
right? The third with, the fifth without, the
Without.
fourth, the
Right.
fifth, the sixth, the say. You see that, everybody?
Yes.
Yeah.
You take my word that I didn't make a mistake. When we get to the Selah, you end up with the word Amudeha, which is the 18th word with, and Selah, which is the 19th word with, right?
Okay. Okay.
Toli, which word is the word that doesn't have anything? Where are we at on that verse? Right here?
Edits
That
is the
is-
ninth word.
Which, so you end up with 9 words without it and
And
19
With.
with.
Okay.
Take my word for it, and let's go down all the way to verse, let's go to verse
28,
9
not
to save
26.
time. Shemareha is the last word of that verse, correct?
47th, right?
You end up with the
47.
47 words that have it, and how many that
21.
don't?
21.
22, 22.
22.
22. Good.
Oh, 22.
Now let's go to the next verse. Vani, Agid is the, go Soli.
52nd word.
The second-
Agid is the 52nd word.
It's the 52nd that,
Has Hashem's letters.
and Leolam,
Is the 25th that doesn't.
and then Zamirel Yaakov,
Okay, 55 is Yaakov.
and then Vichol.
56, 57, 58, and then 26.
How many
Is-
don't have God's letters in it?
26 total.
26.
And how many do?
61.
61.
What does 61 and 26 represent in this Mizmor?
Ani
Ani
Hashem.
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 That's how you say it, Ani Hashem on an atomic level. You take the words that have one of God's names in it, and you end up with 61 of them. You take the words that don't, you end up with exactly 26 of them. Now, do you know what the odds on that are in the Mizmor that we're claiming everything is 61 and 26, Ani Hashem?
1 in 10.
1 in what? 1 in 10, you lowlife. You
Better
know.
shot of the Jets winning the Super Bowl.
I have a question. Do you employ AI in this?
It took 6 months, and it was miraculous finding this, I want you to know. It really was miraculous.
Who would think?
Now, who'd have thunk? Now, I
Mhm.
want to.
Now we have to
before
look at the
we
letter
end tonight-
sideways? Is that
We only have 12
Yeah,
minutes left before we end tonight's class. I want to open up
you going by
the
letters now?
board for you. I want to open up Ms. Maud, give me 1 minute. I think I'll be able to open it without a problem. I want you to see this. Come on, be nice to me. Don't blow. It's
Can you find Internet Explorer
there we go. Okay,
on my computer?
look how long it's taking to open up the sheet. Frightening.
Whoa.
Having it pack every time it does anything. Come
Well,
on,
you had to go to
trust me.
Florida.
open up.
We have
Okay,
Excel now.
yeah. Now, let's see, I want to go to, I want to right click here if it'll let me. Yeah. Ooh. You see how it's moving? I don't know if you realize it's so traumatized, the thing. Okay. 75. Come on. Main breakdown version 2. Okay, there we are. I'd like you to look. This is every single thing that goes on in this Mizmor. For example, when I say this is every single thing, you all remember
You have
that
gematria of every word? Wow.
there's the 26 and there's the 61, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
You did gematria of every word?
And the gematria of every word, that's correct. And the count forwards and backwards.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Well,
Wow.
look carefully now at the opening
The only
word.
thing you're missing is the letter count. Oh, you have a letter count.
I have a letter count.
Crazy.
Everything is counted in here. I want to
Cool.
try before we end this class, so when we talk next week, you have this sense. You see the opening word, which is Hodinu?
Yeah,
Mhm.
It has all of the letters of Yud Kei Vav Kei in it.
3 of them.
Hodinu lecha Elohim, Hodinu. We have given thanks, and your name is near. Your name is near. The word Elohim is equal to 86. Hodinu is equal to 81. Yes? Now
Okay.
look carefully. You know, when in this Mizmor, God refers to himself in Anochi.
81.
Right. Now everybody look at me when I say what I'm about to say. I'm gonna put on the come on, get big. Be nice. Here we go. Okay. Good. Guys, listen to me. Do you remember earlier I said that there are 80 occurrences of Ani Hashem in the Torah?
Yes.
Yes.
How about if you add Anochi Hashem? Where does it say Anochi Hashem in the Torah? Who remembers?
Aseret Debrot twice,
Yeah.
1 and 1.
2 and 2.
Anochi
2
Elohim
times
Shesed-
in the Ten Commandments in Shemot, 2 times in the
Okay,
Ten
okay.
Commandments. One is the opening word, Anochi Hashem Elokeinu Asher Tzivka Me'eretz Yisrael,
Mhm.
and the other one is in the third commandment, right?
Oh, yeah,
Right?
okay.
Lotus, okay.
Lord Hashem Elokeinu Hashem. I'll read it to you, just so you hear that one. In the Ten Commandments, it says like this, in the third commandment. Lo tisa. Oh no, I said it in the wrong
No, it
place.
doesn't, it's not there.
No. No. It's not there. It's in, wait, I said it wrong. It's in, yeah, it's in the second commandment. It, lo yeh lecha ani maharim al panai, et cetera, et cetera. Lo
You
tishtav.
have them, Ki Anochi Elohim
Elkanah.
Elkanah.
Elkanah. Pokei
Pokei
davon
davon
avot
avot.
al banim, right?
Yeah.
Al
Yeah.
banim, al shuleshim, al rebeim, l'shonei ai. Good?
Right.
That's
Mhm.
4. There are 3
Right.
other Anochi Hashems in Torah. You'll have to take my word for it. What is the total of Ani or Anochi Hashem?
87.
7, 8, right.
It just happens to be 87, which equals 61 solely plus
Oh, plus 26. The words in this Mizmor. Okay.
That's correct. It
Right.
just happens to be by coincidence that it ties in perfectly with that. Now I want you to look at another thing. I'm doing this fast, so we finish with it this week. Look at the word tikanti,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and look at the word amudeha. How does
Mhm.
amudeha? What are the last 2 letters of amudeha, Soli?
Yud Hey.
okay.
Yud
Okay.
Hey, correct?
Right.
So what does this 61 mean?
That's the 61st word going
Backwards.
backwards. Right.
Ani, and one of the words in the text that has all of God's letters in it,
Okay.
but ending in Yud Keh. Ani Yud Keh.
Is that the only word like that in the Mizmor?
Well, what's another one that is?
I don't know. I'm looking. I can't see the whole chart.
Yosbeha. Yud here, right here.
Right.
What's
Yeah.
the word after it?
Anochi.
Anochi,
Anochi what?
God, I'm God.
Ani, yeah.
Ani, there's Anochi. Anochi, Yud Keh. Ani, Yud Keh, and all the letters. You see this word?
Yeah,
Tikanti, what's Tikanti?
set up.
The
Correct.
26th word forward,
word.
and this is the 61st word backwards.
Okay.
So now you have Ani,
He's,
Yud Keh, Vav Keh, and the words are Ani, Yud Keh, Vav Keh, and Ani, and Anochi,
Anochi.
Yud Keh. Now,
So you have in a row you have Anochi, Hashem, Ani.
all over the place.
Right. No. Okay.
All over the place. It's filled. I'm going it's all over the place. Now, remember I told you about the only Yud Keh Vav Keh has 26 after and 26 before, besides the fact that it's the 61st word forward, followed by 26 words, correct? I'm
Right.
reminding you about this.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, you see the word marom? Al tarimu lamarom karnichem. Don't lift up to, what does this word marom mean? Anybody? What does the word marom mean? Nobody knows?
Well, horns.
Huh?
No, kanechem
Horns?
is horns. Kanechem
Oh.
is horns.
No,
High-
lamarom. This word here, right here.
The heights, to high, to highness.
To the on high. Don't
Right.
lift up to the one on high your horns. Right? How is God referred to in the Torah? Vayad. Where do you see the word marom? When you think of marom, vata marom le'olam Hashem,
Marom miramim.
right? So the word could be a proper noun or could be to the one who was up on high.
An adjective, right?
It could be, right, as referring to God who was marom, or it could be capital M, right?
Mhm.
The one, the exalted, right? God. It's a proper noun. Which word
Mhm.
number is it in the text?
The text is the 49th word.
Not what look, but what
It's a
what,
20
what
it's a
does
26 without-
represent?
Without Hashem's name in there at all.
No, Marom has Hashem's name in it, Vav.
Oh, it's 26
It's
with
the
that.
26th word that has God's name in it.
Okay.
Of the 61, it's the 26th. It's the word Marom.
Mhm.
So you end up again with anywhere you touch anything in this Mizmor, whether it's the total words, which are 61 and 26, whether it's the letters that have and don't have, it's 61 and 26, whether it's the word Anochi and the reverse counts. Now, I went through this very fast. When you finished looking at this slowly, right? I'm going to stop the share now. When you finish looking at this slowly, which maybe Morris, besides putting up this, will put it up the charts for you to see. You see that there's no way that what I just now showed you is coincidental. It's impossible. You show this to a critical thinker, and he'll tell you there are too many things happening in the Mizmor between the keys and between the Yud Kev Vav Kez and the letters. Too many things that this Mizmor says Ani Hashem or Anochi Hashem on what you'd call its substructure all the way down to the atomic level. Does everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yes.
Now the question, of course, becomes why in the 75th Mizmor? Now look, I want you to understand something. I don't want anybody I went through this very fast because it's impossible without spending a lot of time looking at these structures to see that what the words that I just now told you are. I don't have a midrash about 61 and 27 and 87 words and the atomic level and the word level and the backwards and the forwards and Marom and Elohim and Hodinu. I don't have that. It's not my midrashic idea. Once this is revealed, the most critical of people will look and say they don't know what to do with this other than to say it was a purposeful structure. You don't have to take my word for it, but take my word for it for the purposes of this class. That you're just in something that is more striking than anything we've ever seen in how a structure works to say something. The question is, after I found this 10 years ago, I said, nobody has ever seen, like Lee's question, nobody has ever seen why this Mizmor says Ani Hashem. What does saying, knowing that at the center of Tehillim, at the very core, along with the next Mizmor, remember there's going to be one more Mizmor. There are two parts to the center part. That at this juncture, two things happen. One, God states, Ani Yud Kev Vav Keh. Two, he says it, and when he says it, he says you're not getting relief now. Does everybody under?
Yeah, I think you answered my question, Ronnie.
That's correct. Go ahead.
Because he's saying, God's saying, I need Hashem. I'm God. I'm here. I'm in every part, every which way. I'm part of the whole structure of the world, but you can't see me.
That's correct.
It's there, but you can't see me on the surface.
That's correct. That's correct. So it never says Ani Hashem because you don't see it unless it's very difficult to see God's actions. And what we will be doing in the coming week or two, exactly, you answered your question for yourself, Lee. You can't see God's actions. Now remember, don't forget this. We said that the build up to where Hashem tells Moshe after he says, things only got worse since I've been representing you. Ma'az Bati al Paro, right? They're suffering. And God says, Ani Yud Kevavke. 73, 74, and 75's track, which some of you have seen a little bit of, some of you have seen a lot of. Morris, you've seen a lot of it. Joey Namath, you've seen a lot of it. I think. Sammy, maybe even also quite a lot. It duplicates the track of that track, and it duplicates another track. Now, listen carefully. That track that it duplicates here states, you can't see my actions. Where did we talk about tonight that it said that God says you can't see my actions, only see me retrospectively?
Moshe, הריני כבודך.
What?
35.
Moshe, הריני כבודך.
That's correct. I want show me your show me your ways.
Okay.
And God answers him. What does he answer him?
You
No.
see it after the fact.
Retrospective.
After the
He
fact.
said my
I
back.
understand.
But how does he answer him? What does he do when he answers? What does he say? What are the famous words?
After you look behind me.
Yud Ke Vavke, Yud Ke Vavke. El Rahum V'Hanun, Erech Apayim V'Rav Chesed V'Emet. You know these words. You've said them a million times, all of you. Correct? When God
Yes.
calls out in chapter 34 in Shemot, what does he answer him when he tells him, I'm going to call out, right? At the second tablets. Vayikra b'Shem Hashem, and he calls out in the name of God. You should all look in your books. Vayabor Adonai al Panav. God
Vayikra.
passes his face. Vayikra, and he calls out, God calls out, Yud Kevavke, Yud Kevavke, El Rahum Hanun, Erech Apayim V'Rav Chesed V'Emet. Compassionate, right? Loving, compassionate, and merciful, and slow to anger, and great in kindness and truth. Noser Chesed Alafim, Noser Avon Rafesha V'Hata'am V'Nakeh, who forgives.
Lo Yenakeh.
V'Nakeh Lo
Lo
Yenakeh.
Yenakeh. Poker Avon Avot.
What is V'Nakeh exactly? Lee, V'Nakeh Lo Yenakeh means
Well, they won't.
he will not let you
Whitewash.
off the hook. Poked
Right.
Avon Abot Al
Right.
Banim, Al
Regeneration.
Bnei Banim, Al Shileshim, to the
Al-
third generation, Al Rebeim, and unto the fourth where it stops. Correct? That
Correct.
revelation was a revelation that Moshe gets in his answer to the question of, I want to know your ways. Is everybody with me?
Yep.
Yes.
Everybody considers that to be one of the most important statements of all of the Torah by saying that is Moshe asking about the theodicy.
Correct.
I want to know how you work. And God answers him. And when he finally gets it, Moshe, he says the right prayer, forgive them because they're Am Keshe Oref, and then he makes a berit. God says, now you're right. Now forgive them because you said them. The berit is eternal. In the coming next week And in the following, maybe in the following week after that, we will talk about how this Mizmor at 75 as an answer to 74's, how can you allow this to keep going on? That the answer is Ani Hashem. And Ani Hashem and what it means in Shemot gets clearer and comes into sharper focus. And then we're going to talk about all the places throughout Tanakh that duplicate this. Before we end, Morris, which is the most famous place that duplicates this? Besides
duplicates
Moshe
this
and
scene?
Koreh.
Oh, Eliyahu.
Eliyahu. What does Eliyahu say? Do you remember, Lee? What does he say to God at Horeb?
I would just read it.
That's right.
He's angry.
He's
Even at the
angry.
end, after and God is bot called, small.
What does God answer?
I'm in the imperceptible voice.
That's it. Called him a madaka. You cannot. What is that? What is that the equivalent of saying? Called him a madaka. You
don't know. You
the
can't know
sound
me.
is imperceptible. What does that mean?
Right. It's not obvious.
You can't
it's not out
understand.
loud.
You cannot see me. What doesn't he say? Get in the rock. And when I pass by a cover, you can't see my
Right.
face because a man, lawyer ani hadam high person can see me and live. Correct.
Correct.
So when it's with Eliyahu, he puts him in the rock. It's after 40 days and 40 nights, and he puts him in the rock. And Eliyahu says, he tells him, what are you doing here? And he says, I just got away from her, and look what's going on. I'm the only person left, and she's coming to kill me. What does God tell him? I don't work with the sound and the ra'ash and the quaking. I don't work that way. I work with called him adaka. And what does Eliyahu say about that answer, Morris?
He doesn't like it.
He doesn't like it. He doesn't like it because God sees him the next day and he tells him, what are you doing here? Again, Malachat poor Eliyahu. And what does Eliyahu say, Morris?
He repeats the same words that he said. before.
Verbatim.
Yeah,
And
I'm
what-
jealous for you. Right.
And what does God answer him? Verbatim. The same
Next.
exact answer. Eliyahu is never happy with that answer. So that's one example of where the 75th Mizmor and its juncture to 74 and response and Ani Hashem and Eliyahu's response, right? It's a hidden message. It's not explicit. You can't see this message and live. It's something that my actions are imperceptible to Moshe at Har Sinai on the second Luchot, the second time around. He tells him you could only see it retrospectively.
You're actually telling people to take a leap of faith because if it was out there and so blatant, then it's very easy to believe. It's very easy
No,
to follow. You have to
you
be able to
can't-
follow without having it right in your face.
Sort of.
Morris, you have a comment to make about that?
Sort of.
You just said.
Well, I don't know. I think that that's basically correct, but it's the people who have the insight that see it happening in spades all over.
But you have to work at it. It's not just right in front
Yeah,
of you.
it's not something you're gonna see.
Right.
You know, Moshe has to go up the mountain.
You have to
And,
work
to
out
really
to appreciate,
understand
to
it.
really understand it and appreciate it.
How hard did Moshe have to work to understand it?
He's climbing mountains for 40 days and 40 nights.
Very, very difficult.
Right.
How about Eliyahu? Did he get it?
No.
In the end, no.
Well, he got it, but he didn't like it.
Oh,
He got answered.
but he rejected. He didn't accept it. He didn't.
He didn't accept it. I don't
He
buy
didn't,
this.
he didn't personalize it. He didn't take it in. He wasn't
No,
going
You
that
don't
way.
like the answer. What do you
Nope.
mean? That's what life's all about.
Still don't like the answer.
You don't
But he
like the
gets credit for making the effort.
I
Huh?
still don't like
He gets credit for making the effort to try to
I mean,
understand it.
He's trying to understand. But when he
Yeah,
gets
you
the
have
answer,
you
so
have to
over
give-
here you have two stories, two people back to back, duplicated stories, on many levels. Clearly, all the scholars, everybody recognizes the similarity, right?
Right.
Of Moshe and Eliyahu. But one story, Moshe accepts it completely and makes the proper prayer for the future, right?
Right.
And that, for them, because he says, because they're stubborn, forgive them.
Yeah,
In other
That's why
words,
he,
Ronnie,
it
that's
happened
why he
again.
was,
There's free choice.
in both stories, Moshe and Eliyahu, the people sin. There's fire, Har Sinai, and then Chet Egel. Eliyahu, he brings the korbanot, the fire comes down, it burns it up. People go, wow, and then 2 minutes later, they fell out again. So in
Right.
both situations, the fire and brimstone, doesn't work.
That's correct.
People sin right away.
but the differentiating factor shows that one could be the leader of people and one could not.
One has to do in order to be the leader of people.
Right.
And where a person can say, I refuse, I don't, but you've got to know that the most powerful subject we're talking about today is this. It is the most important question. It is the question that everybody says Moshe asked over there. And the answer in 75 makes it much, much, much clearer because it's a prophetic commentary and insight on what that means. We are at the beginning of discussion of what it means. And next week, we will go through detail of all the other places in the Torah where this subject is discussed. I'm gonna 60 seconds. What's the most famous place besides Eliyahu? The most famous place where this is discussed?
Eov.
Eov.
The whole book is going to talk about this. What's one other place? Anybody else?
Abraham.
Abraham.
Where?
Abraham.
Show me, how am I gonna?
Where is
Sodom.
Abraham? Where does
Sodom.
Abraham say it? You said Abraham where?
In Sodom, the story
And
of
Sodom.
Sodom.
Hashofet kol haaretz lo ya'aseh mishpat.
Mishpat, right.
Right? Will the judge of all the earth not do justice? Right? Very good. Where's another one?
Yonah.
Who?
Jonah, we said.
Yonah. Slow boat to China. I'm out of here. I don't like this. I don't like the way things are going here. I'm not going there. I don't want to do that. Another one.
Yirmiyah.
Yirmiyah.
Yeah.
Sadiq, what does he say? What does he say?
Well,
Lema
supposedly-
derech l'shayim sadeha. Why is the way of the wicked successful? They'll live lives in tranquility. Right? By the way, what does God answer him? Does everybody remember?
You can't run with
That's right. You can't even keep up with the foot racers. You want to get in with the racehorses? How are you gonna race with horses, right?
But also Yirmiyah was reluctant to even step into the game. He didn't want the
Always
job
reluctant
altogether.
at the beginning, but then he
Yeah.
did. But then he did in spades. Who can give me one other one? Lee, you said Abraham. What's another Abraham one?
The Akedah.
No.
no,
Beni Benedict, show me, how am I gonna know? Who's gonna follow me? He has no kid.
right.
Berit ben Abetarim. He tells him your reward is great. He says, who cares about the reward?
Yeah,
What
it's
do I
gonna be
care? I have no
Eliezer.
children.
Yeah,
Louis Ishmael. Yeah.
And then he tells him, and then he answers him, take the Eglam Shuleshet, which nobody knows the answer to of what those things are. We wrote about it extensively
The first
on
book.
more.
He did 8 pieces.
almost 100 pages. And we explained exactly what that's talking about. Can you give me one more where this is? Listen to the swaths so far. Look how far reaching. Give me another. You covered major areas of the Torah. You covered Bereshit, you covered Shemot, you covered Nevi'im, you covered Eyob. Give me another one.
This is more. What was it?
This Mizmor, the middle of Tehillim. Give me another
all the
one.
Mizmorim. A lot of misery.
Go ahead, Morris. Tell them what the Bereshit one that no one dreams of.
Oh, Esav,
Morris, you said it.
Esav, he's gonna say, right?
Esav and Yaakov. It says Vayitrotzitzu habanim b'kirbah.
You
The
said that last
children
week.
were at birth, before even coming into the world. You think of the twins as what, Morris? As
Brooklyn.
one person, right?
Oh, yeah.
It represents two aspects of the personality. What is one aspect of the personality?
Yeah.
What do I need it for? I'm going to die. What does
Here and now.
Yaakov say?
He wants.
I'll
to
take
get
it.
the
I'll take it.
responsibility.
It's what is taking it represent? Long term. No short term thing. It's for the future. The Bechorah represents the future. That's why he gets Birkat Abraham. Esav says, I'm not interested. Who does Esav remind you of, Mars? That
Eliyahu.
answer.
Yeah,
What?
Eliyahu.
Eliyahu's answer. I'm not interested. All right. I gave you all in an hour and 30 minutes. I gave you all of it, and overwhelmed you with it when you get colorblind at this juncture. So we'll stop. But I gave you a lot of food for thought for this week. When we sit down in person together next week, we'll take these things and tear them down one by one and see the picture more clearly and talk about how and why this is the center of Tehillim, and how it comments on the most critical questions. And we did not answer how 76 is the follow-up and the perfect follow-up to this structure. Not close, it's perfect. It's the exact center point. You will be stupefied when you see what happens. All right, I did my best.
Very good, Ronnie. Thank you.
All
Okay,
right.
thanks, Ronnie.
Really great to see all you guys. Very hard to
Negative
talk
12.
to the screen, and I hope you to
How's your weather down there?
unbelievable, gorgeous.
Oh, you got nice finally?
Yeah, very, very. It's been nice the whole time we've been here, all the time.
I mean, finally over 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody, all the SYs here, they go, is the worst winter in 20 years.
Yeah.
All the time that bad weather, so thank God. Yeah.
All right.
Well,
Thank
Elu,
you.
if you all come here, I'll stay here. If you all come here and stay here for the weekend, I'll put you all up and we'll have classes.
We'll all take a cruise. We'll do the Tehillim cruise.
Oh, we should do that. I'll do that one. All right.
Good night. Thank you, Ronnie.
Great. Sammy, feel better. Sammy, the Fuashilima, feel good. You should recuperate very quickly from this and get it
Thank you.
behind you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. So
Okay.
far, so good.
Glad to see you today. Glad to see you.
Yeah.
All right.
You too.
Okay, bye, everybody.
All right. Have a good one. Moshe, if you could stay on 1 minute, I have a quick question for you, Morris, if you'll just stay on. Let me
Okay.
just stop the
Um,
recording, Morris, 1 minute.
Yeah.